and process understanding of the division. He has conducted fraud risk assessment for more than 100 listed companies across multiple sectors to assist in planning, development, and implementation of fraud risk procedures. We are delighted to have you, sir. And we are sure that our audience is going to have a lot of key takeaways from today's session. So over to you, Soham sir, for further deliberation.
Hi, thank you. Thanks, madam. Hello, everyone. A very good morning. Uh, yes, so my name is Soham, and let's get going. So basically, this is planned as a four-session webinar, uh, purely on forensic accounting and different parlances and conversations around forensics and investigations. So yeah, welcome one and all. Uh, the topics which we target and plan to cover in this session are as follows. Uh, it includes basic introduction with few discussions around exactly like fraud experiences we have, a few interesting facts to share, followed by some elements which culminate into a fraud, discussions on red flags, fraud triangle, scope of forensic accounting, and followed by that, we'll have more kind of a conversation pertaining to the marquee cases, which have been the scams which have been going in the country. All right. The objective, like what we expect in like next couple of hours from you guys is, let's try to make it interactive. So due to certain reasons, we are lucky that like we have a very small forum today. So like I see currently 20 people. So let's try to make this interactive. Let's try to exchange ideas, like experiences which all of you guys have, queries which you guys have, and like maybe by the end of the session, let's have a simple target that let's gain some insights and know at least few things more what we know at this moment. So let that be the objective of this session. And with this mindset, let me just bounce off the first question to the forum over here. Yeah. Have you encountered a critical fraud incident in your organization or at your client base? Just kind of just open up exactly what are we up to in next couple of hours. Anyone want to take this up? Come on, guys. Please don't make me share that typical slides. Let's not do that.
Oh, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. I have not come across any such things financially.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. But any of experiences, it need not necessarily be something in the books of accounts, Tally, SAP, ERP, not necessarily that, like a red flag. You see someone, like some kind of person getting too involved with some vendors, customers, uh, anything on those that lines, basically. If not, you have personally experienced, you have seen any of your like colleagues, friends, or anyone who have encountered something like that.
Yeah, of course. This has happened in one of my earlier stints with a corporate, but before me joining. So what used to happen is, during those days, it was cash withdrawal. So this accountant, he used to get a check signed from the authorized signatory for let's say 4,000 rupees. Okay. And while getting the check signed, what he used to do is he used to leave some gap in the words column instead of 4. He used to leave some space there, and then also in the numbers column, numbers space, he used to just write 4,000 and not strike off. And what used to happen is, after the signature, he used to add one more zero for make it 40,000, and in the words also make it 40,000.
Okay.
So this has happened continuously for about, I think, 8 to 10 sessions. So almost about, example, let's say 4 lakh. Okay. Instead
Okay.
of 40,000, 10 times,
Mhm.
4 lakh he has taken it.
Okay.
And, nobody had, nobody could come out of it. I mean, nobody could identify it. But that person, what he did was, he had invited the authorized signatory for one of his, his house construction. Okay.
Okay.
And so there, the authorized signatory got suspicious. How come this person, accountant, getting very less salary, able to construct such a big house? I mean, that.
Okay.
So next time, what he did
Ah.
was signing a check. He wanted to just see what happens. So he observed the check clearly, and then he noticed that there is a space and all that. So somehow he signed the check, and immediately
Yes.
after the cash withdrawal, he went to the bank himself and then checked how much cash was withdrawn. Instead of 4,000, 40,000 what was withdrawn.
Understood.
Then
Understood.
he went backwards and then did a audit, asked the auditors to do the audit, and that's how he
Yes.
got caught.
So 4 sessions. So you mean like that would have happened? Everything would have happened in a particular year. That's right. Like
Yeah,
because by the end of
it
the
has
year it would have
happened.
been raised.
Yeah, it has happened in one financial year. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Perfect. All right. And basically, who was able to kind of bring this into notice of the management? Like who was the person, like trigger
No,
situation or a trigger person?
that's all. That trigger situation was his housewarming ceremony.
Okay.
Okay,
All
the
right.
accountant's
Yes.
housewarming
Yes.
ceremony. The
All right.
authorized signatory got suspicious. How come this person earning a very
Okay.
less
All
salary
right.
is able to construct a
Perfect.
house?
Yes, your example, we are going to use it not like as an example, but the scenarios which you mentioned. So like like parts and bits of it is going to get covered in our slides, in terms of exact definition where your situation falls. So yeah, thank you, sir, for your input. Yeah, I think Sonali Khanna, I think you wanted to share something, right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Actually, I was working in one of the
Yes,
organization
please.
in foods and beverage organization in 2019. During that, there was one incident in one
Okay.
of the branch office. There was some manipulation done by some branch accountant in the scrap sales. So he did a fraud of around 76
Okay.
lakhs rupees, and the account amount was credited as in bank. I don't know the
Hmm.
exact procedure, but I just heard. I was not part of the team, but I was in head
Yes.
office in Gurgaon. Then
Hmm. Okay.
FIR was lodged by the organization on him, and he went underground. There was one incident which I just recalled
Hmm.
in this
Yes.
session. So that's why I just wanted to. In scrap sales, I've heard there's a lot of scope of fraud. So I've
Yes.
heard
Yes.
somewhere.
Definitely. Definitely. So yes, that is something, like it is considered a scrap, but it is a gold for a lot of fraudsters.
Somehow the accountant managed to uh, withdraw the money in his account, in the customer's account, or
Yes.
whatever, like in the
Yes.
so that's why he
Yes.
manipulated.
Yeah, so the thing is that scrap is such a thing, it is still not completely organized. Few sectors are organized, but still in a lot of sectors, this remains like kind of an unorganized place, in terms of
And also
auctions,
I've heard like
sales, etc.
in internal audit also, it's a area of that need to be
Yes.
looked
Yes, so
into.
it's like literally a separate stream which is coming into picture. Those are the things, to be very specific, we plan to cover in the next session. But whatever you are saying, somewhere is one of the critical things. Scrap is considered critical element. When you are looking at like just a broad level fraud risk. If you have a material amount in scrap, that is indeed considered something which you need to kind of look into, especially when we're doing a forensic audit or an investigation. All right then. Yes, so that's about it. Anyone still wants to add something, or we can hop to our discussions ahead? Anyone want to chip in? Sundar Rajan sir, this is in bank mainly relating to end use of funds. You want to speak up something like more about your experience or what you have come across? All right. Okay. All right. But yeah, just to kind of acknowledge it, yes, definitely. With respect to end use of funds, there is instances of diversion, etc. So we'll be covering few national mandate cases. You know exactly what was the modus operandi there, and these things will definitely get covered there. So let's move to the like at least to get our basic streamline. So that brings me to the base of our session today. Exactly, what is forensic accounting? Yeah, so whatever you guys have come across, would you like to kind of comment like what are your expenses? What is your understanding on forensic accounting? Like I'm not expecting a definition, just like what is the sense we get, like when you hear that, like there is a forensic accounting, forensic audit, like what comes in our mind? Come on, guys. Like it's not a huge like we can kind of team up all like all of us. That can be fun. As I will move with the definition then.
It is though I'm not, I won't be able to give a
Yes,
certain
yes. I
definition.
don't expect that.
So it's more
Yes,
like
yes, please.
How to unearth the fraudulent transaction already recorded in books.
Okay. All right. Makes sense. Anyone wants to add, kind of a top up on this? Okay. All right. This one I'll take this up. All right. So forensic accounting is the practice of utilizing our accounting and auditing skills, data mining tools, and investigation skills to detect frauds and mistakes. A very simplified definition, basically doing something, where the objective is to detect a fraud or kind of an accounting misstatement, mismanagement. To elaborate this further, this is just a part of definition. Like I would like to expand this term into the two pillars which we usually categorize. So it's called as conclusive evidence and legal evidence acceptable in court. So when I say conclusive evidence, what I am trying to present over here is whenever we are doing a statutory audit or usual review audits. So what we do is we try to put it based on the available data. This is there, this appears to be true and fair. This is a standard language, or we take a management representation that we have reviewed whatever you have provided, we cannot comment beyond that, etc., etc. It need not necessarily be conclusive, but in terms of forensic accounting, what is expected is that whatever you state has to be conclusive in nature. Second part is legal evidence. Considering that forensic audit, forensic accounting, whatever terms we use, the end objective is that in case if there is a fraud or there is not a fraud, it needs to be submitted to the court of law. So for that to happen, it has to be something which is legally acceptable. So let's say I feel in my company there is a possibility that this employee is suspicious. I cannot just randomly sue him that I've heard that you are doing this cases this that. Like as a forensic accountant, you need to gather concrete evidences which are conclusive and the evidences which can be acceptable in court, something like a supporting document or a suspicious email with proper tracing. It cannot be a manipulated or a tampered email with all like not getting into the technicals, but something which is not tampered or not kind of like there's no uh, involvement of any other tools or forensik tools to kind of tamper the evidence. So it has to be a clean evidence. So these are the two pillars of forensic accounting, and the objectives why we do this forensics. Uh, so like that's a very simple thing. I'll just run past it. Identify the cases of fraud through forensic analysis and techniques, the techniques which we will be learning gradually through our sessions. Second is investigation and collection of evidences. Now, these evidences, as I mentioned, will be conclusive and something which is legally accepted. Now, the third and the most important part, a lot of times our interpretation gets restricted to okay, this is investigation and collection of evidences, etc., etc. And like, but what I want to categorically mention that it is our job is not just to investigate and collect evidence, but as a productive contributor to the organization, especially in cases of employee investigations, procurement frauds, customer frauds, etc. We evaluate, we identify, like this was the area, this was the process where there was a lapse. So hypothetically, there is an issue, there was a fraud in purchase department. Okay, fraud identified, person terminated. But now the important step is like, what were the process gaps over there? What were the flaws in the, like in terms of like there was no maker checker, too much authority, etc., etc. And what could be the suggested the kind of pointers or recommendations which can be provided to the management. And the last part, which uh, ironically is not, it's as simple as making sure that those recommendations are implemented, because a lot of times we see in endless scenarios where there will be some serious recommendations given, but those recommendations are usually revered when there is another instance of a fraud. So the last step, most important, that once the recommendations are provided, make sure that those are implemented correctly and it is subsequently tested. So this is like a broad view of exactly like what are the objectives of uh, performing these forensic audits and forensic accounting procedures. Coming to an important thing with respect to ICI, that ICI has released a revised forensic accounting and investigation standards on 1st July. That is in the previous year. It has got 20 accounting standards. And as a part of this 4 webinar journey, we will be taking a specific session, where we will be covering purely on those forensic accounting standards and its practical implementation, its challenges, etc. So that is just a kind of an introduction and background with respect to forensics. So over here, out of you guys, so like, are you guys aware about ACFE with respect to that organization, what it does, etc., etc.? Anyone? Yes, please. Yes, Sonali. Hello.
Association of Certified Fraud Examiner.
Exactly. So she's absolutely right. Is my screen visible? I think there is some glitch over here.
Screen is in the first slide only.
Exactly. I think there is a 1 second. All right. It's visible now, right? Hello. My screen is visible, right?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. Thank you. Yes. So as rightly mentioned, so ACF is Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. So basically, it is a USA-based institute, and a lot of the individuals who are pursuing or planning to make a career into forensics, then there is a certified course which is called as CFE, Certified Fraud Examiner. So a lot of, well, or rather I say most of the forensic professional who planning to pursue it as a career, they make sure they are taking this certification. So they usually regularly, at least once in a year, they release a report where they do a study on multiple, like they pick up samples from across the globe and they come up with certain observations. If required, do reach out to me. I will share the link or the report, which we refer. And just few insights from this report, which I wanted to share with you guys. So average revenue loss because of fraud is 5% per organization every year. So on an average, like just holistically, if we take as a median, so at least 5% of revenue is lost because of some weak control or a fraudulent technique. Second, a typical fraud case lasts on an average for 12 months before it is detected. The logic behind this is that whenever a fraudster comes up with any of his fraudulent tactics, so initially for the first few months, what they do is they try to experiment at a very minuscule level because they are scared, they are not sure. But after the few months, when they try to sense, that okay, this is a gap, no one is able to find this out. Once they get that comfort in few months, then they start doing something big. So such big that it becomes materially visible, and it will impact or kind of make it visible to the management or to the whistleblower, etc. So on an average, it states that usually it takes usually a year to detect this typical fraud case. Third interesting fact that almost half of all reported cases included corruption. So although it sounds like like corruption we only associate with uh, I don't know whether I can say that, but to the non like basically to the non-private sector, let me put it like that. But that's not the case. Just that over here it happens in a very sophisticated manner, and like something which will be called as a loophole or a process gap. But yeah, half of all reported cases included corruption, and this is not an Indian statistic. This statistic is based across the globe. And yes, the last fun fact that more than half of the tips come from employees. Another one third comes from vendor customers. So that goes that more than 80% of these triggers, alarms, whistleblowing cases are reported by employees and vendors and customers. So making sure that your stakeholders, especially employees, customers, vendors, like you have a cordial relation will be good for you, because they are the ones who are going to report such cases for you, not your auditors or your processes and controls. So yeah, these were some insights pertaining to uh, forensics and frauds across the globe, most importantly. Yes. Coming to the next part, ingredients that cultivates into fraud. Now, again, I want to leave this point for the forum over here. So, what are like according to you, what are the factors which cultivates into fraud according to you guys? Like from the exam, like few examples we discussed at the start, or any other thing which you have read somewhere, seen somewhere. Like maybe a couple of you guys, if you can contribute. Anyone? Reciprocal benefits. Narayan is saying. All right, definitely. Is one of the I'll say an ingredient. Indeed, yes. Anyone else?
Offers from vendors, competitive vendors.
Okay. All right, makes sense. Definitely. Rekha is mentioning money grudges. Indeed, correct. All right. Okay. So if we get back, like in a structured manner, so basically, this is in the bucket of opportunity what we are discussing. So like for the journey from opportunity, which becomes a fraud risk for the entity. So one is the need side, where like you have a financial need, or you are kind of an offender. Like you have a mindset of doing something incorrect or unlawful itself. And second is the greed factor, that you see a loophole, like you do it for a few thousands, and then you realize it's possible, and that thousands becomes lakhs. And as I mentioned, like within a year, on an average, you will start taking big bucks till the time it starts getting noticed.
गुड मॉर्निंग, कैसे हो? बढ़िया बढ़िया बढ़िया। अच्छा,
Yeah. Okay. Let's move to the next part with respect to red flags surrounding fraud. So this is something, I think beyond forensics, this is the word which we keep using across. Like I see a red flag over here. This seems to be a red flag, red flag. We use associate a red flag, with multiple factors. This is a red flag, red flag. So exactly what is a red flag? Like, I mean, like if you want to put it into some words, like, so what do you guys call it, like a red flag as? Like, what is a red flag? Anyone, once again? I again want to just reiterate the objective of this session. Like, it's not a typical, like run through of PPT. So if, we kind of can collaborate, it will really like make more sense and more, like it will add more value. So just once again, a humble request that if you guys have something, like there's no one to judge here, like we'll learn something more. Okay, over here, uh, I see loss of revenue as a red flag. No maker checker concept is a red flag. But these are examples. So like in terms of if you want to put it into words, like I mean I completely agree, but yeah, so over here I think Rekha ji is mentioning something that doesn't look normal. Okay, all right. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, all right. So at least like if you want to put it into words, red flag means a warning sign, pattern, practice, or specific activity that is in contrast to normalcy. So as rightly mentioned, something that doesn't look normal. So yeah. So exactly, and whenever there is a red flag, so an individual is expected, to keep two critical things in mind, that uh, that it must be proactive and not reactive, and second that must that individual must always be conscious of the unusual or out of place. So something which is not normal, like if we just put it in uh, layman language. So let's deep dive into this further because for our forensic accounting, so this is something which will take this forward. Like exactly like what is the red flag, when it is identified, how it is identified, because that will help us make us more concrete plan. Like accordingly we can perform the subsequent audit steps. Yes. So what we have done is over here we have bucketed, the signs of red flags. So few of them you guys had already put it on chat box. So like just for understanding and discussion purposes, this has been put it into 6 boxes. So what I'll do is I'll put a header on the screen, and you guys try to give suggestions, like in terms of examples. Like what could be the examples of the red flags. So the first one over here, so it states that frequent complaints from customers and suppliers. Now, complaints is not a fraud, but when you have a complaint, so like if I look at the underlying, like why will there be complaints from customers and suppliers? So from customer point of view, the first thing which it comes in my mind is that maybe the products which I've delivered are not up to the mark. Now, why will my product not be up to the mark? Either it is adulterated, or maybe it is tampered, or maybe the raw materials, the quality of raw materials used to make that product is not up to the mark. That can be a possible reason, is one of the management reasons. But if the management is like, no boss, like I have made sure that everything is as it was, to make this successful, then like then why it is happening? And there is a possibility that somewhere in the middle part, in my process, in my factory, there is something where some tampering or something is happening, where because of which my customers are complaining. So like this is my example for frequent complaints from customers and suppliers. So on this note, from the second point, I would request all of you guys to come up with like all real life examples which you guys can think of. So something like second red flag: low morale and motivation among employees. So what can be the reason? Like, can you state few examples for this? Low morale and motivation among employees. High attrition. All right. So high attrition will be a type of a sign of a red flag. But yes, I mean, still it can be relatable. All right. Poor compensation. Exactly. Exactly. But I mean, like what would be the underlying fraud element which we can think of? Like what it can lead to fraud? Because low moral and motivation among employees. Anyone? All right. Inadequate work-life balance of employees. Yes, definitely. It makes sense. All right. So basically, so these were few instances, like because of which there will be low morale, and this can, like be a red flag. So basically, what I was trying to address is that uh, if there is a low moral and motivation, if this is what you see through, attrition, poor compensation, inadequate work life, then it is not a bad idea to make sure that whatever those set of employees are, like to check, in terms of uh, specific activities with respect to the authorities given to those activities. Uh, like whether there is like proper review of documentation of those things. Whether you see any risk or any threat of potential diversion, misstatement, etc. Understaffed accounting department. So if the like this is one of the signs of a red flag, so what could be the outcome of this? Like what would be the risk? Like, what is an example of potential fraud which you can think of? This one is like manageable. I think we can, like, if there is lack of accounting staff, what uh, what is the risk? Yes, Jai Sudha. Yes, please.
Maybe
You're not audible. I'm not able to hear you clearly. No, we are not able to hear you. Hello. I think like maybe she'll try once again. All right. So in the comments, what I can see is no maker checker and over responsibility to one or more staff, slackness in doing things. Yes, you guys are right. What I'm trying to tell is that these are all the causes, and because of this, yes. So I think the last one is still getting relevant. accounting not done on time, important events missed to be accounted, evidence not maintained. So this is what I'm trying to tell, that because it is understaffed accounting department, so there will like if I am working in there, and if I have a kind of an intention to defraud the company where I'm working. So like, because let's say there is a risk that uh, there is no adequate maker checker concept, which you're able to do. So I am only raising a bill, I am only approving, etc., etc. So if these things happen, then there is a potential possibility that I might divert few money out of the business. Like hypothetically, there is a payroll master, so I might add a couple of line items, get that payments processed from the bank, because there is no adequate team to review my work. So this is basically one of the signs that if that is understaffed, then better check those payrolls and all those, like the authorities which the accounting staff has. Employee with sudden shift in lavish lifestyle. I think Madhuji will will be well aware what we are speaking over here. So yeah, employee with sudden shift in lavish lifestyle. Apart from the example which Madhuji gave at the start, anyone would also want to contribute something on that. So um, like the case which he mentioned completely aligns with this. Yes, Madhuji, you're saying
Employees,
something.
like employees who are performing are sidelined.
Yes. Like I didn't get the context. Can you
Yeah,
elaborate?
basically, if somebody is doing right things
Hmm.
at the right time and doing it on time
Hmm.
are sidelined. So primarily, maybe there is some transactions which the manager doesn't want the employee to know.
Hmm. Okay. But you're in context of understaffed accounting because like I am on this employee with sudden shift in lifestyle. So I didn't get you. So exactly what, like how is
Okay,
it
no,
related to?
I'm sorry. I'm on the
Yeah.
from the point of view of low morale.
Okay. Okay. All right. No, I was mentioning with respect to employee with sudden shift in lavish lifestyle. So, considering that as a red flag, because you gave that example, that in that housewarming party, everyone was surprised that with this kind of a background and with this level of salary, like it's not kind of aligning. So this is one of the, I say, easiest and the low hanging fruit, because like it can be very easily identified. So like I mean, obviously other factors needs to be considered, that like exactly what is the family background, who are the other earning members in the family, etc., etc. But if everything else remains constant, like everything else is kind of normal lines, and there is a sudden spike. So one of the examples, as mentioned by Madhuji, that like in the office party, can you think of other sources, where you can like very easily identify, like sudden change in lifestyle? Any other thoughts which you can think of, ideas or examples, or maybe you have seen or experienced somewhere, like sudden shift in lifestyle? Like how can you trace it? uh, Buying expensive cars, exactly. But whenever we do an audit, so like this is something which is our favorite, so that is why I wanted to put it across. So buying expensive cars, okay. So over here in Madhuji's example, so all the employees were invited and they were like easily doing it. But someone as a consultant, when we are doing a review, like an investigation independently, so according to you, what would be the sources from which we'll be able to like identify this? Because this will not be easily identifiable, like purely from my company's books of accounts, etc. So what would be the things where like we can go beyond and identify. Just going out of it, not from this movie. Okay, someone is saying movie Nayak sudden lifestyle change in current CM's lifestyle. All right. Okay. Yeah, that is with due respect, but that is like too much of a lavish thing, because usually when we say sudden shift in lifestyle, it will be like, like buying a car, house, not like complete change in makeshift, because I think that can only be done for extraordinary powers. One is rumor. So basically, what I wanted to share is a very basic thing, which is social media. So something like a Facebook or kind of uh, WhatsApp or those social media websites. Uh, so whenever like there is a sudden spike or a sudden makeshift, it's a natural thing that you will try to post it on social media. So lots and lots of times, as simple as a Facebook upload, because we will be independent third parties. So we can just simply, like whoever is the suspect, be it in the purchase, let's say purchase manager or a suspected employee, just do a scrutiny or a profile screening on social media, all basically, Facebook or Instagram or a Twitter or whatsoever. And in lot of instances, in very simple searches, you will be wondering exactly, like what are these guys up to. So that is a flavor, like with respect to sudden shift in lifestyle. Inconsistent and surprising cash flow deficiencies. I think this is a bit self-explanatory. This is a part of like identification through financial statements, and from auditors' standpoint, I think this is one of the ones where where they can easily pick that up. But still, anyone want to add any pointers on this? More than happy to like spare a few seconds here if anyone want to chip in. Yeah, inconsistent and surprising cash flow deficiencies. So basically, critical deficiencies in cash flows, negative cash flows. So usually, this thing is identified by the management, because management knows that ideally there should not be a scenario of cash flow deficiencies, but like someone is pulling money out of the system. That is why these deficiencies are created. So that's about more of issues in the financials. And another one, someone had mentioned about this top management somewhere. So infighting among the top management. So goes without saying that like if there is an issue at the top, so the controls tend to get weakened, stability tends to get affected, and naturally the people below will try to take a benefit or an advantage out of it. So these are just a flavors, different. Obviously, this is not exhaustive, but these are the types of red flags, where if you come across, such kind of situations, then maybe you can think that, maybe this thing is, just beyond what it appears to be. There might be some inherent issues. So, be it for your clients, be it at your own company, if you come across these red flags, like you can start thinking beyond, thing which is available, the information available at hand. All right then. So these were signs. Now quickly I'll just run through the categories of red flags as well. So just this is just to kind of make it more in a kind of sequential manner. So structural company policies and procedures that are in place, which itself create opportunities for fraud. Something which is operational category, how a company does business, operations which minimizes chances of error, like checked, unchecked, etc. Financial performance, aggressive goals and performance measures at individual and company. So this has a lot to do with, like in marketing department, you are like make it or break it. You have to achieve this much target, or you are fired, or like your bonuses are gone. So like these are kind of scenarios which triggers people. Personal issues, employment policies and procedures, disciplinary standards, and trouble in terms of keeping an audit form, because that is a red flag. Like a lot of times when we do any investigation, what we tend to see, specifically when the management is at target, at how often is the audit firm being replaced, because ideally an audit firm can last from 5 years to 10 years. Now, if you see every second year the auditor is getting, changed, then we tend to get extremely comfortable to the extent of, reaching out to the exiting auditors. What were the key reasons for the exit beyond which is on record, because that will, help give us a kind of a more clarity on the same. All right then. Any doubts, questions? Anyone wants to ask? More than happy, or else we can take up the next part. All right. Okay. Oh, fair enough then. Let's move to the next part. Okay. I think most of you might have heard this somewhere or the other, the fraud triangle. Anyone want to volunteer exactly what is their interpretation of fraud triangle? Anyone? All right. Okay. Okay. All right. Let's take this and pass this with respect to fraud triangle. So basically, it was developed by criminologist Donald Cressy and is an essential model for identifying and understanding the factors that lead to fraud. So there are three components with respect to fraud triangle: opportunity, pressure, and rationalization. All right. What I'll do is, once again, I'll just give a flavor exactly, what does this factor mean, and once again, what I expect from you guys is, let's kind of, think of examples, pertaining to this factor. So let's start with opportunity. Circumstances that allow fraud to occur, often due to weak internal controls. So now with respect to this, there's opportunities arising. So according to you, what would be the benefits which one can avail of, because of this opportunity? Any examples you can think of? This is in line, like we had a kind of flavor discussed in the earlier slide. So this is a bit of aligning with that. Come on, guys, it's getting passive again. Come on, at least the ones who are active. Madhuji, yes, sir, please.
Pressure is probably on two accounts.
Mm-hmm.
One is social pressure, that is domestic pressure. Second is pressure within the company, like maybe sharing, like manager wants pressurizes and then says that, okay, I'll give you some percentage, you take.
Correct. All right. Yeah, but this is with respect to the element, the component of pressure. Can you think of something on the opportunity? So we talked about that need and greed, right? In the earlier slide.
Opportunity.
Yes.
For example, a vendor may offer saying that, sir, if you give me the order, I will some percentage.
Yes.
So there he may see the opportunity.
Correct. Yes. So that is basically lack of internal control, right? So one thing I want to clarify is that, whenever we are talking about, these components of fraud triangle, etc. So it is both ways. So one is, as an external person, like I am doing the fraud, and second is something, where not exactly, I'll put it as in the definition of fraud, but something sales pressure target, where the management driven pressure, which forces employees. So it will not be an fraud against the company, but it will be more of fraud for the company, which is mismanagement of books of accounts. Rationalization. So justification for unethical behavior. So something the standard in a very layman language, we have seen this multiple times. An employee stating, मेरे वहाँ ऐसे भी हम लोग को सैलरी में तो ये लोग हरास करते ही हैं. So उससे क्या फर्क पड़ता है, like I take a few prints away, or like I take this office stationery at my home anyways, they don't compensate me enough. So that's kind of, you're trying to rationalize yourself, trying to make that thing simplified, that okay, it's not a big deal, like anyways, companies end up paying. But that is at a smaller level. But if you capitalize this, or like gauge this into a larger level, this is one of the reasons, rationalizing, you finding a reason or convincing yourself that this is normal and not a fraud. How management perceives these actions, and ethical behavior change over time. And pressure, as Madhu sir rightly mentioned, financial or emotional force pushing an individual towards fraud. Performance targets, meet a social status, or financial need arising from debt, greed, etc. So yeah, this is broadly on the components of a fraud triangle. So as a part of this session, I am excited to introduce you to one of my friends, Mr. Gaurav Kriplani. So he was actively he's active into the forensic advisory. He was working previously with KPMG in the forensics department, followed by BDO, and currently has his own venture. So just to make it more exciting and interactive, let's try to have few discussions with him as well, and like take his insights and purview on these cases of forensic audits. Yeah, hi Gaurav. Good morning. Very good morning, Gaurav.
Soham, before Gaurav speaks, can I say a few things?
Hi, hello. Yes, sir. Good morning.
Hello. Yeah, congratulations. I was listening your presentation, and to the colleagues who are on the Zoom call, including all of us, there are 19. This is, a global area of practice, and forensic is like after the wrong has been done, a fraud has been done, but there is like prevention, which is before the fraud. So both areas are very important. So when we detect fraud, we come to know what should be the preventive measures. And preventive measures are more important than and fraud detection. We knowing this skill maybe from our childhood and when we grew up. So it's a common sense. But with the technological era, there are tools, there are sophisticated fraud. If we see the old movies, Kautilya and others, there is a fraud in collection of tax. If we see, so when the money came into existence, fraud came into existence simultaneously. Before money, when the commodity came into existence, that time also there was a fraud. So there is a rich history of the fraud, and fraud will be there till the wealth is there on this planet.
Yes.
In spite of any amount of measures. So, Soham and his team and myself, we want to mastermind each one of you, those who have that passionate desire to learn this subject. And CA Kuldeep Vasisht is there with us. He's also a mastermind in learning, an officer of ICAI on these things. Yes, with this, if there are any query of any of the participant, I would like to take up that, and then Gaurav can address us. And technology to get the work. See, in any work, there are two things. One is learning the subject, and second is getting the work in that area. So both go simultaneously. There is a well research done that 60 hours can teach us any subject more than reasonable. So if we give 2 hours every day in 1 month, if we give 4 hours, then in 15 days, we will learn the subject. And getting the work, there is a social media technology where we become a thought leader. We, in the physical programs, in the online programs, we speak about this. On graphic design platform, we make one thought every day and post on all social media platform, Facebook, LinkedIn, Insta, Twitter. We make a YouTube video we can make it for public. Those code of ethics clauses do not apply when we share the knowledge. Clause 5, securing the work. Clause 6, soliciting the work. And clause 7, getting the work through advertisement. So you can post your query subsequently also to me or Soham. Over to you, Gaurav. Any query from anyone? ठीक है, Gaurav, you carry on and then we will see.
Sure. Thank you, sir, for your insights and inputs.
Thank you.
All right. Yes. Hi, Gaurav.
Thanks. Hi. So
Yes.
good morning. Thank you for
Good
having
morning.
me.
Very.
Yeah.
Yes, sure. We are glad to see you here. As I was mentioning to all our with respect to experience in forensics investigation, in marquee cases such as Nirav Modi and other high-profile investigations. So over here, we wanted, since you are here, to take your views and insights, with respect to forensic accounting. So, can you share an example of a complex forensic accounting investigation which you have worked on? And, like what was your approach in any case, for, like our participants to have a kind of real-time experience into it?
Yes. But I think that I'm facing some internet issue, but am I audible properly? Hello? Am I audible properly?
Yes, we can hear you, Gaurav.
Perfect. Thanks.
Yes.
So yeah, thank you so much for this question. The kind of complex investigations, accounting investigations that we have seen till date are like, a deep round tripping. And with laws evolving, the tax authorities' mentality and, the ability to handle complex round trippings, more and more people are getting into more complex situations, like, handling the tax authorities in a way, finding the loopholes in the current tax regimes, and then still able to do a detailed level of a round tripping is some of the, I would say, is one of the example where we have seen that this is one of the corporate complex accounting systems that we have seen. To quote you an example, there are many. There are many complex situations that we have seen right now. Round tripping is, as I said, one of them. Then, the kickbacks. Again, a very polished manner. So if you go back and see FCP investigations, which are happening recently in the US economies, and followed by ABMS, like APAC investigations happening in India as well, the authorities are able to identify complex pyramids of accounting, where the bunch of selective, very focused vendors are being onboarded just to facilitate certain payments, which are in principle not supposed to be. So that's again one of the complex accounting situations where you just have to go beyond number and identify the real transaction behind the transaction. Maybe a illustration of the transaction or categorization of a transaction. Imagine you are having 3 lakh accounting entries in a month. Totally about 30-40 lakh accounting entries, like companies like Giant, like Alliance and all that. For them, it's just stuff, and identifying those critical few entries which are more relevant in terms of amount also, that not be coming in your threshold as an auditor. However, identifying those things are again becoming a challenge in the recent areas. So yes, this is an era where when we say a complex accounting, it's just not a debit credit. It's the whole framework behind an entry. And if you're able to catch the mindset of a fraudster, of a financial fraudster, we will be definitely more than able to see beyond numbers, what has been represented in the annual reports and what is there behind the screen.
Understood. So, you mentioned certain categories, like issues of round tripping, kickbacks, like in terms of evergreening. So, like, can you give maybe deep dive into one example, so that all of us can kind of understand it, with an example, like exactly, let's say these were the parties, this was a situation of a kickback, just to get an exact flavor, like how kickbacks work and how they are unearthed.
So imagine let's say a company in the infrastructure industry. Now, being in infrastructure and a direct conversation with the government, it's highly likely that a chances of bribery, a chances of kickbacks are there with the government officials. So what happens here? To the India, in India, first of all, let us understand the rules and regulations. So in India, the ABAC clauses are applicable. The POCA is applicable. If you are in US, the FCPA is applicable, and there are many such laws across 70 countries which restrict government officials to take bribery from the companies. Now, why infra company? It's more fungible in a way, more prone to such kind of briberies. There is a high amount of regulation, so a high amount of interaction between the employee and the government employees and the companies. Now, let's take an example. If at all I want to win a tender of, let's say, 1,000 crores, how do I facilitate the bribery? Wherein there are certain constraints. When you are at such a level, it is just not easy to give a cash. So cash component. So see, the earlier era when we started, I mean, the fraud started happening, the cash element was very common, and people used to facilitate that very very nicely. But now, since the laws are evolving, the digital payments are evolving, the online tendering processes have evolved. Government is also trying very best to their level, that things are being very structured, and there is highly a small room for a bribe. Still, I have to facilitate. So what will I do? So it's a classic example of a kickback where I'll form a pyramid of vehicles, which are entities. I will get my money in white from the government whenever I get from winning the tenders and all that stuff, executing the tenders. I have some cash element. I have, sorry, a white element in me. What will I do to facilitate such bribery payments? I'll create a pyramid of vehicles, entities, in the name of materials vendor, in the name of labor vendors, in the name of many such other services. Consultancy services are one of the biggest vehicles for these kind of facilitation of transactions. So if I just look at the accounting entry, it's very simple. I have taken the services, so my services or whatever expense account is debit to vendor account. But if I deep down deeply around, understand the framework of that vendor, do some due diligence on that vendor, I'll be in a position to identify that, okay, the vendor is potentially not existing. The vendor has been given a contract of 10 crores. And if you go back and see the background of a vendor, it's just established entity as per their GST records. If you ask them their PAN number, if you ask them their ITR, the last year of turnover was not even 50 lakhs. So this is the complex account. Now, whenever people see themselves as an accountant, they just look at the entries. However, it's a time, if you are into the forensic investigations, you just have to go beyond accounting entries and get back to the background. So this is one of the examples of where we identified
basically beyond financials, like things to look beyond financials.
Correct. And this is layer one analysis. To give you more detailed perspective, there has to be another layer of analysis as well, which is predominantly because of the data privacy is not applicable in India. However, in certain countries like Middle East, if at all a single chain of event is identified, where we are able to give a slightest level of a confidence to the government regulatory authorities that, okay, in the chain, in the layer one chain, we have identified certain level of suspicious transactions. We are allowed to dig down through a data which is being provided by the company under the direction of a government to more on the data of the layer one companies as well. I mean, layer one framework as well, to just identify if there has been another layer of polishing for that transaction. So this is one of the examples of a complex, I would say, accounting, where we have seen layers of companies or vehicles that have been created just to facilitate a specific transaction.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. And yeah, so that is like the like forensics, we tend to kind of restrict, our mindset that, okay, there will be issues in the financials, money would be there, there would be some divergence. Agreed, all that is there. But as you mentioned, so, like for a lot of instances, we need to look beyond financials, in terms of what are the other things which kind of collaborate, that there is an issue or a kind of a potential fraud underlying there. So, yes, thank you. Another thing which I am very keen to understand, considering you had, spent some good time, like kind of implementation of robotics and AI. So, with respect to that, wanted to understand, like, how do advancements in AI and robotics impact the field of forensic accounting? And like in terms of skills, what like a forensic accountant should possess, or at least if you're appointing someone as a forensic, if someone are friends from industry here, what are the things which we should take into consideration?
It's a very good question. First of all, I would say, as rightly said by Mr. Adukia sir, fraud exists when the money came into the existence. The level of a fraud has been evolving a lot. What type of investigations we used to do in 2016, I'm not going far, I'm just going 8 years back, and the kind of investigations we faced in 2018, diamond frauds, where we worked together, and the kind of investigations or the kind of fraudulent patterns that we're experiencing today.
Yes.
Quoting an example of a lot of data related frauds are happening now. The definition of fraud has changed from the financial pyramid making to getting into some critical data of certain companies, and there has been many challenges by big companies as well. To say, Twitter has recently said that the data has been compromised, and then there are many such. Uber has also faced these kind of things. JW Marriott Hotel have faced these kind of issues globally, where there are 500 million across, I would say, 50 crore customers data was stolen in somewhere 2018-19. So these the frauds are evaluating, the frauds are evolving. When there is no consistency in something, chances of getting AI absolutely into a penetrated level, it's quite difficult, I would say. There are certain aspects which are definitely which can be definitely automized. So for example, data sanitization. We being a fraud investigator, a lot of data has to be analyzed, so, and that has to be analyzed in a specific format. So AI is what we are seeing today. The kind of maturity that AI or automation has made is only towards the data standardization, and to give us some layer one ratios or fraudulent patterns. To prove the nitty-gritties of that particular pattern or particular transaction, still there has to be manual intervention, and still there has to be human mind working on those complex situations. So in nutshell, yes, AI and these things are playing well. We have tools, we have many things coming up, like AI related annual report analyzer is a new thing which is coming in, that if you put in the model to the AI and give them 10 years of annual reports, and they'll give you the a slight amount of identification whether the company is going into the right direction or not. However, we have seen companies failing who have made these kind of models. We have seen that companies as of now failing. So this gives us a reason to understand there is a still more room to improve for the AI.
I have a question on this. So as you mentioned, like I put an annual report into the system and AI will give me outputs. But as a kind of a drawback or a challenge, to this emerging technologies. So don't you think that removes first the human element from this, because there are a lot of things which are machine, because you get a sense while reading the numbers. So can machine do that? And second, at this point, like we have been practicing this, so it makes sense, but like for the, upcoming generation, does it become a threat that, people literally stop forgetting to, like read the annual report, or, apply their minds, like of reading an annual report? So like, how do you see this, like this, like as a potential drawback maybe? How do you see this?
Very good question. Again, I would always say technology has always been enabling the humans. It has never worked as an eliminator. The thought process behind kind of automations that we see in specific industries, the people who were doing those kind of mundane activities have been evolved to do something which is literally challenging for the human minds. So we have seen that transition. People every field, as I said, as so for example, the current trends are like getting into the some hacking and doing some crypto frauds. Recently it happened with one of the I would say a unicorn startup where $230 million of crypto assets were stolen by hacking. Now these kind of things, AI can help you to identify certain patterns, but solving the absolute game, solving that absolute thread, something has to be done by the human mind. So there's no need of fear, because technology is enabling us to do complex situations. So as a matter of a fact, when things are getting complex day by day, let mundane activities be taken care by the AI, and we focus on the things which have never happened till date. So in 2018 we were not even aware about कि crypto में fraud हो सकता है, right? We were all pro like okay, crypto such a blockchain technology.
That's a new cool. Yes.
I've seen the people talking about okay, blockchain, it's a decentralized very highly secured encrypted network, it can't be broken. People have broke it, right? You see people have taken people have been able to crack the Bitcoin, which is the highest currency in the crypto. People have seen things going on. So as these things are happening, AI will play its own role. We have our own role to play.
Completely agree. All right. Yes. So yes, thank you. Thanks, Gaurav, for your insights. And like we just got a flavor from a perspective from someone who is kind of active into RPAs and AIs, and tools are related to that. So thank you. I'll leave a couple of minutes for the platform. Like if anyone wants to ask any questions to Gaurav, and then we can take off for the subsequent slides and presentation. Yeah, I'll leave 2 minutes for everyone. If anyone wants to ask any question, please. Okay, guys. Yes, I think we can continue and commence further. And so, Gaurav, like if there is anything, if someone is reaching out, maybe at the later part of the session, like I will connect to you, and we can get that thing sorted.
Sure. Perfect.
All right.
Great.
Okay. Thank you, Gaurav. Thank you so much for your time and your insights. I think someone has mentioned something. Would you be able to share use cases with evidences? Rekha is mentioning.
Might not be able to share your use cases because they are not in public domain, honestly. But yeah, as and when things are public, it is already there. So if you go back and learn about how the FTX fraud happened, you will be able to unveil the new kind of things which happened and which gone wrong there. In terms of evidences, certainly not. We are in the forensic field. Not possible to share anyone's investigations data.
Yes. But I think I can just kind of compensatory on this, that like we are planning to have one session where we will be taking up few cases where name and everything will be hidden. Just exactly like how to trace a bank statement. So like we have
Yes.
planned one of the sessions on that. So where in that entire 2 hours, we will take up like maybe one case in manufacturing, one into service sector, one in healthcare sector. So over there maybe we can try to rationalize, and over there maybe if Gaurav is available, we can try to take
Yeah,
his
but
insights on one of the cases as well over there.
yeah, but one book which I would
Yes,
personally
Gaurav, if you have another minute, there is one more question. I
yeah.
think so. You'll be able to take it. It is from Jyoti Lakshmi. That could you please throw some light on genuinity of NGO organizations?
Sorry, can you repeat genuinity of?
Yeah, genuinity of NGOs and charitable organizations.
Oh, okay. So till date, we have not been able to do any investigation on NGO or private trust. However, there are certain frauds which have unveiled in terms of CHS, Cooperative Housing Society, when certain selective members they take certain decisions, elective members basically in favor, which is in in a way favoring them and not favoring the society as a whole. And we've seen certain cases going into the RERA where there has been allegations on particular people, doing these kind of frauds. But talking about completely NGO, I have not encountered any kind of investigation in that direction as of now. But there are, of course, some use cases, and people know how to use this vehicle to facilitate certain transactions. So yes, these vehicles are there definitely. Whenever someone wants to facilitate some transactions. But in terms of investigations, I'm not having any experience on that line.
All right. Okay. All right.
So just one
Thank
second.
you, Gaurav.
Yeah, just 1 second. Lastly, I would want to say about the book.
Yes.
I think someone asked me hide the name, and again.
Mhm.
So for them, there is a book which is full of use cases, and it will be helpful to you if you want to build a career in forensic investigations. That's the stepping stone, I would say. It's called Financial Shenanigans. So Financial Shenanigans is the book. If you it's easily available in the internet, free to download PDF. No, don't need to go anywhere. If you read this book, you will get all the very nice case studies from 1960s to 2000s, what happened in the US economy when US economy was growing. And the same can be replicated in Indian scenarios as well. So I would recommend for all of you to go that book, read that book.
All
Please
right.
repeat the name, please.
Yes.
Financial
I'll put it on the
Repeat the
team
name.
chat. I put it on the group just for
Thanks.
everyone's reference.
Great. Okay, so thank you so much for having me. I'll just have to jump on another call.
Thank you. Thanks, Gaurav, for your time.
Thank you
so much.
Yeah. Bye-bye. All take care. Som will provide you my number. Yeah.
Yes,
Bye.
sure. All right then. We can continue with our presentation. All right. Okay. Okay. So continuing and taking our discussions ahead, like on the second part of our today's agenda, which is scope of forensic accounting. So what I've done over here is just the critical areas where forensic accounting and fraud investigation field lies upon. So I've tried to list a few of them. So majority of the cases are like revolve around these types of assignments, and there might be some special audits, with some specific scope, but broadly it falls under these categories. First is financial fraud investigations. Second is corruption investigations and whistleblower complaints. So this includes typically that employee fraud or a vendor purchase procurement fraud, something to do with fraudulent customers, etc., etc. This third one is dispute and litigation support. I'm not sure all of you are aware of. So over here we team up with a lot of law firms. So in case like there is a kind of dispute case happening, with the legal team, and they want to kind of investigate, either the claimant or the defendant, whatever the case may be. So this will include things like having complete email reviews and server reviews done, valuation, with respect to quantification of claims, and subsequently being an expert witness to the court of law. So this support and services requires us to visit courts as well, to give our expert testimony. The fourth one is I think the most famous one, where lots and lots of CA firms are involved, which is NPA forensic audit under RBI guidelines. This also includes transaction audits with IBC, pertaining to IBC. But broadly, everything tries to cover to unearth the fraud with the companies to whom bankers have given loans. The next aspect is fraud risk assessment. This is one of the preventive methods where, let's say, you are doing statutory audits, internal audits, and those kind of assignments, and you come across that, let's say, in the case of payrolls. So, you see lots of red flags in the payroll area. So the auditor usually recommends that, you appoint a forensic accountant or an auditor and try to kind of evaluate whether there are any further fraud risks exist, or is there any potential fraud in the particular area which you're trying to unearth. And the last one is asset misappropriation, where forensic accountants, through public domains, through MCA uploads the information available over there, and through other public domains, try to trace the assets, of the person who is is absconding, running, and try to trace. So I'll put an example of Nirav Modi over here. So when Nirav Modi incident had happened, so like when he flew out of the country, so there were like attempts and agencies appointed, and where through certain forensic methods and public domain searches, the assets of these absconding individuals are gathered. In this case, I think approximately 5 to 6,000 crores of assets were traced, and which were eventually sold off to kind of recover at least that much money from the banks. So this is a flavor, like exactly how these approaches are. In the next session which we are planning, what we are going to do is take up few cases of these and try to understand the entire work procedure. So something like what Gaurav mentioned today, like one of the instances of kickbacks. Through the slides, we will try to understand, like let's say an investigation case. So what is the approach? What are the work steps? Like from where do we start? What do we do? So once again, like if you are pursuing to be a forensic accountant, that gives you a visualization exactly, how like the day in the forensic accountant's office works. And in case if you are from the company, when you appoint, that what can you expect from the forensic accountants. So that brings me to the second last part of today's presentation, and I would rate it as one of the most interesting. Here we will be discussing about few marquee cases, the national mandates, and but once again, I don't want to be a kind of a solo speaker over here. Let's try to collaborate whatever things you guys have heard from public, your understanding, and like try to kind of build a case out of it. So here we go. The first one, critical frauds in India. I'm just going to put an image, and I think I want to hear from you guys. So when you hear about, like see this image, what type of fraud comes to your mind? And like let me just open this forum. Like I'm looking forward to hear from you guys. Come on, guys. This one is very critical. Like as it will become, I'll quickly run past in 5 minutes all the critical cases. So But I don't think that will add any value because this is all like, you'll get a sense from public domain. If you ask questions, we make it interactive, we'll get some flavor out of it, as it will just be a monologue for me. What guys, come on, Nirav Modi, what are the things which you can think of? Like, what have you heard from public domain with respect to Nirav Modi case?
Bank's internal controls were very weak.
Absolutely. But what were the, like, in case if you have come across, like, what were the uh, those weak internal controls exploited? You're absolutely right. Weak internal controls, but like, how were it exploited? Like, just, any news, glamour news, straight news, actual news, whatever you guys have come across. LUT. Okay. I think you are just nearing. You meant, I think, LOU. Chalo you. Letter of undertaking. Yeah. HR Shah. So you are right. So it's something to do with letter of undertaking. Yes, you are right. Uh, so letter of undertaking is the tool which was exploited through this weak internal controls of the bank. This is absolutely making sense. But anything further, anyone can think of what they have heard about. All right. Swift, absolutely correct. So basically, Swift is a mode through which LOU operates. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. There were issues, like manipulations in the Swift transactions which were happening. Absolutely. All right. So I'll just take it further. Maybe once again, I'll open the platform. Like, so basically, yes, it was PNB fraud involved the perpetrators Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi. As mentioned, it was like because of fraudulent letter of undertaking issued by PNB officials. So there was this specific individual, Gokulnath Shetty. He, along with a couple of others, were the only ones responsible, for issuing all these LOUs, which estimated to be approx 13,000 crores. Along with that, as mentioned by Madhuji about weak internal control. So yeah, non-integration of CBS, I will elaborate that, and misuse of Nostro accounts. So these were the broad areas which led to effective loss of 13,000 crores. I'll just take a couple of minutes to exactly give a modus operandi, exactly this fraud happened. So basically, since almost 2013. So I mentioned one thing at the start that, like, for any fraud, what a person does is that usually there is some loophole in the system. So you try to tap that. You do a couple of times with some smaller negligible amounts, and then if you get a comfort, you kind of get confident and get involved in larger transactions. So over here, this was way back in 2013, and the fraud had unearthed in 2018. So our 12-month median over here was like, it took almost 6 years for the fraud to come out, 5 to 6 years. So I'll quickly run past exactly what happened. So 2013, as mentioned, so whenever you issue a letter of undertaking, so basically it's a promise which the PNB bank gives to the foreign banks that this gentleman wants to make some purchases, make some imports, then let the foreign bank make the payment, and PNB is kind of a in a very layman language, they are kind of a guarantors that in case if Nirav Modi defaults, we will be pay. And logically, if you give such guarantee, you need to keep an underlying security. Now, the problem is that Nirav Modi and team, they kind of exploited a couple of individuals, as I mentioned, Gokulnath Shetty in this case. So they kind of got into an arrangement, and they made PNB issue guarantees, issue letter of undertaking without any underlying security. Now the next question that, suppose if there is, then how can how is bank or the auditors not aware of? Because like, it's a very simple, like, from some of the data it would be written that security zero, okay, red flag. but that's not the case, because that system, these kinds of interactions, it doesn't happen through an email or a phone call or anything. So there is a separate Swift mechanism through which these kinds of conversations are communicated. It's a coding, a kind of a code where, like there are different Swift keys, etc. To keep it simplified, so it was communicated, but those communications or those set of transactions, those LOUs which were issued, that is not integrated with the banking software or the accounting software used by the bank. So because of this loophole, auditor would review the bank. Okay, and they would, like kind of on test check basis, come across, like review certain Swift transactions, etc. But entire critical review of the auditor will be only restricted to the books of accounts and, the core banking software, that is CBS. So because of this factor, that the element never came into existence, and this entire fraud was done through a particular bank branch situated at I mean in one of the branches, at Churchgate near Mumbai. So everything happened through that particular branch, and so it was not that it was happening across the country, and like there was, so it was kind of tapped, manipulated, and exploited in a particular area, and because of weak controls, this entire fraud was perpetuated. And lastly, just as a fun fact, so this thing was not unearthed as a whistleblower, was not kind of revealed or exploited or kind of, unveiled by the auditors. This became such a practice and a norm for 5 to 6 years that in 2018, this individual gentleman, Mr. Gokulnath Shetty, so he happened to retire, all right, without realizing what would be the consequences once that chair is gone. And a new employee, was replaced over there, and Nirav Modi and team. So one of the team members, came there, like please issue LOUs, and as a standard practice, that employee mentioned that, okay, kindly give me the security. And this guy in arrogance is like, was we are taking, these LOUs and guarantees for almost 6 years, and we never pay, like give any securities. Please check your system. And this guy, the employee, checked the system, and he was like shocked and shattered that, like these high value, high ticket undertakings are given without any security, for a continuous period of 6 years. And that is how, like this entire thing came into limelight. So it was just that in a way, the Nirav Modi officials themselves kind of made them, because they were so used to, like exploiting the system, that had become kind of a routine for them. So this is like a brief flavor on exactly, this Nirav Modi and Mehul Choksi, basically the Gitanjali Gems scam was, kind of unearthed, and the modus operandi. Anyone wants to ask anything, or I can give another example? As I mentioned, this is a monologue. So all right, okay, let's go for the next one. Okay, so this one is another marquee case, ILNFS. But as promised, I once again open the platform. Like if someone wants to add any flavor about it, like they have heard about something, etc. Not anyone. No, anyone has not heard about ILNFS. Seriously. Yes, Madhuji.
Yeah, this has got to do with refinancing.
Correct. All right. Refinancing, agreed. Any other something like like layering subsidiaries, multiple subsidiaries. Like, have you come across any of such issues like pertaining to ILNFS?
No, vaguely remember.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Let's go with this second one as well. So over here, So senior management, because this was not more of a promoter driven. So there was an entire senior management who was involved in this issue. So over here, what the management did was that they created a complex organization structure. Now, when I say complex, it means like having hundreds of subsidiaries, okay, and majority of them being share subsidiaries. All right, financial misreporting. So basically, what they did was that they would take a loan from a particular bank. Now they realize that this is not payable due to whatsoever my ambitious projects, etc. Now another loan would be taken to repay that first loan, and that entire chain of loans would continue. All right. There were a lot of advances which were given without conducting appropriate evaluations, and basis which lots and lots, like thousands of crores, were kind of diluted and shattered. And when the repaying capacity, like after the other bank, that entire chain started to get affected. It was somewhere realized by the bankers that this is a big chain of just managing this transaction, and underlying all that money has been somewhere burnt off. And when audited and evaluated, it was realized that almost 90,000 crore has been wiped off from the system. And this turns out to be one of the biggest frauds in India. And yes, it literally like to evaluate these subsidiaries and all. So it was one hell of an assignment. Grant Thornton was doing this assignment, and whenever there are such big frauds, how it works is that an auditor does, for a forensic auditor, does the review, and then after that the reports goes to enforcement director, for kind of possible PMLA activities, laundering activities. Then it goes to SFIO because it's one of the marquee case, so central government gets involved. And yes, it was made sure that a lot of directors were, like punished, put behind the bars, and it kind of created questions on the entire system, that like how can such issues be kind of avoided in like in future. So that was a flavor about ILNFS. Another fraud is with respect to PMC Bank. I'll take this PMC Bank and DHFL fraud together. So I just want to give a link. PMC Bank, DHFL fraud, and the issues of HDIL, basically the Vadwan group. These are the things in hand. If anyone have heard about it, want to contribute, more than happy to kind of have that discussion, as I quickly run past that scenario as well. Okay, all right. I'm assuming, yeah, but I agree to it that this is not that PMC and all. Like they're just, everyone is just aware that retail investors had suffered big time. But exactly, there was this entire nexus between PMC Bank, DHFL, NBFC, and HDI. So just to kind of put it in brief, so both these NBFC and public bank kind of ensured that they are advancing free loans, maximum loans to the promoters of HDIL. They created multiple, if I roughly say, then in the case of DHFL, around 21,000 shell companies were created. All right, and the companies were used to siphon off funds. So even as an auditor, once again for this DHFL case, Grant Thornton was the transaction auditor. So even as like we were discussing with Gaurav, so as a forensic auditor, by performing basic standard practices, this kind of assignments are just not practical to cross. You will have to use a lot of robotics and software tools to even just kind of put those entries together, because there will be lakhs and lakhs of entries. Because 21,000, only 21,000 companies were there which were used to siphon funds. There would be NPAs, there would be non-repayments. for the loans advance for both PMC and DHFL. But instead of putting it as an NPA, they would somewhere categorize and put it as that it's not an NPA, it is recoverable, it's not a stressed asset. Reason being a conclusion that auditors would never get a genuine picture out of it. So let's say how underreporting is done is that let's say I have to pay 100 rupees to the bank. It becomes 3 years. It's beyond the defined period, and ideally my account should get into NPA. But how the mechanism works is that now, since 3 years have passed, I will someone will give loans to me. Now I will repay it, and now this loan will be given to my subsidiary or another of my related party. Conclusion: the loan is still there, but instead, since my name is not there, it's not an NPA. So using this mechanism and model, obviously lots and lots of corruption and bribery. Uh, this led to big issue, and eventually for the PMC bank, you might have seen people getting queued up and stressed because almost 6,500 crores of depositors' money were wiped off from the PMC bank fraud, and 31,000 crores of transactions pertaining to the HFA. So this is another short and interesting story pertaining to PMC bank fraud and DHFL fraud. So yeah, these were just a few cases. If you want to know anything more, please feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to give detailed insights exactly how these transactions work. So there is another case study which is there. There is a separate session on case studies, so I'll be happy to take this case studies over there. So yeah, that was all from my side pertaining to scenarios. So more than happy, if you guys have some questions, want to clarify any doubts or anything, more than happy to have it open for you guys. Okay. In the meanwhile,
okay,
yeah.
I have this question. Like,
yes, please.
Could you have some materiality also in the design? Let's say when you're designing an audit program or something, would you also factor some materiality? Because like somebody was earlier saying, most frauds happen in scrap sales.
Yes.
Right. So yeah, scrap sales, yes, because sometimes it is not material. Like
yes, absolutely.
Scrap sale is only 5 lakh, so nobody would bother much, right?
Correct.
So whereas, so is there any materiality concept?
Yes. It's a very, very apt question. And so we have a saying in forensics that in case of a fraud, even a single rupee fraud is a fraud. All right. So a fraud is a fraud. So you like in audit we have that mechanism to calculate materiality. So over here, we use combination of two definitions. One is a fraud is a fraud even if it is for a penny, it's a fraud. And the second one is substance over form. So that also gets implemented over here. I'll take the absolute example of scrap itself. So for scrap, let's say the amount of scrap sales is not material. All right. So we tend to kind of ignore it. It's not like negligible percentage of my revenue, purchases, etc. But what like exactly what we need to look for this is the fact that like scrap sales. Let's say you have discovered a manipulation or an issue of nominal, let's say less than 0.5% of the revenue in terms of value. Let me put it hypothetically. Let's say a 10 lakh rupee issue. Now the issue is that 10 lakh might not be material, like completely immaterial for the company. But if an individual, the person in charge of the scrap, if he is doing this kind of a diversion, in this case, let's say, of 10 lakhs, then then that mens rea will come into picture. Because if the person has that ability or an intent to do for 10 lakhs over here, then you better investigate all the areas where this person is working, because then in all likelihood there is a possibility that he might be doing this. Let's say he's working along with this in some inventory area. So possible there is a threat into that inventory area as well. So that will help you to kind of uncover or explore the inventory section as well. That maybe you can review it with a more finer lens. And this is from a general point of view, but from forensic point of view, 110%. Even the small, if there are, so every industry will have certain risk-prone areas. So as scraps is there. So scraps is something which is a risk-prone area. So if we find even a 5 lakh or a 1 lakh rupee fraud, that kind of helps us understand. Okay, so the intent is there. So let's see, like whether other places such intent can be kind of screened or mirrored upon. Does this answer my question?
Yeah, thanks.
Okay, sure. I think someone has mentioned, Rekha, you mentioned usage of robotics and AI. Any course recommended that's useful to gain knowledge of these tools? Uh, Two parts to it. One is institute is in itself conducting lots of paid courses, for this robotics and AI. In fact, I think just 10 days back there was this big conference at Hyderabad, only and only dedicated to like upcoming robotics and AI technologies, including a session on how AI and robotics can implement have a value in forensics. So you can keep tracing, for the institute that will give you more structure. And apart from that, there are a lot of channels on public domain. They are giving, like basic tools and everything to be used over here. So if you ask me specific, I can get back to you. But I mean, so yes, there are some structured courses to kind of implement these things. Does this answer the question, Rekha? Okay. All right. Okay. So yes, Gyati ma'am. So that's it from my side. You wanna conclude with that?
That was really insightful session, sir, and very much interactive. And I'm really sure that people and audiences would be benefited by today's session. And we're looking forward to have you next week also. So thank you
Yes,
for your
sure.
valuable time, sir.
Thank you. And just to give a heads up, so the session next week, which we are planning, is scope and approach, specifically the approach for conducting this forensic audits and investigations. So, yeah, I think the notice we'll try to give a bit in advance so that people can, like spare some time and like block a time in advance.
Okay, definitely, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Bye bye. Have a great day.
Same to you, sir.